Sorry I was gone for a year. I was playing that one Choo Choo Train game from the 90s. While I was gone exploring my fascination with trains, I've been playing a few video games. I know, what a surprise. I got really into roguelikes. I spent a lot of hours on this game called This Bullet Hell is a combination of everything a Republican ever wanted. Guns and guns. I'm gonna be so honest, that's all this game is about. Its entire concept has to do with a dungeon made with guns and bullets, fighting bullets with guns that are also bullets that shoot guns that in turn shoot even more bullets. Your health? Bullets. The enemies? Bullets. The way you escape? A bullet. I mean, there's a lot more to it than the whole concept of killing your past and a more philosophical side to it, but I'm lame, so I'm just not gonna explain it. This roguelike. Hello?
You know that Enter the Gungeon is a rogue light, right?
Dude, who fucking cares? Like, seriously, what are you even talking about?
According to the Berlin interpretation,
There's an official thing for that? In 1980, Rogue, a randomly generated dungeon crawler, was made by Michael Toy and Glenn Wickman. It was the first of its kind, combining all sorts of aspects such as permadeath, collectible items, turn-based combat, and procedurally generated rooms. It is honestly pretty cool. It might have aged poorly, but give it some slack. It's been 40 years. The game is legendary for its legacy, though, creating the very original name of the roguelike genre of video games. Since then, the community of tech-savvy college nerds have created an abundance of roguelikes. Games like Moria, Nethak, Mystery Dungeon, and the best game ever, Chocobo's Dungeon. Yay! The issue is that roguelike has kind of turned into a vague term, even if the term roguelike indicates that ambiguity in being like Rogue. So in 2008, the International Roguelike Development Conference met to discuss everything pertaining to the game, including what makes a roguelike. They called this list of requirements the Berlin Interpretation. The Berlin Interpretation states there are 13 factors that can affect a game's ability to be determined as a roguelike. Some matter more than others, but all are factors in determining one's roguelike factor. On screen, I've written down all of the factors. The high value factors are: can game make procedurally generated levels? Does game not allow you to retry a run? Does game run on a turn-based system? Does game allow you to use any move at any time? Is progression not linear? Does game have stuff to figure out? And then for the middle value section, is game single player? Is there a lot of stuff in the game? Does game make you think about things in an unintended way? And then finally the low value. Game hard, fuck you. Does game use ASCII? Does game use killing monsters to upgrade character? While they are not all valued as equals, all have an important role in what makes a roguelike. There's a reason why the Berlin Interpretation is often disputed as a real source for determining what a roguelike is. Many people use the interpretation as a basis for how to define such a game, but it is much more aligned to show what a traditional roguelike is. Having aspects such as character-based displays integrated into the concept of the game severely limits the scope of what a roguelike could be. I am a baby, so I was not there at the dawn of the category. Maybe I'm missing something, but to me it seems that the Berlin Interpretation is incredibly limiting. There are many other words like roguelite.
I told you.
Shut the fuck up. Yeah, okay. Roguelite is another vague definition, which basically means that a game contains some, but not enough of the Berlin Interpretation to be considered a full-scale roguelike. According to the Screen Rant article I stole, games that are considered roguelites are games like Hades, Slay the Spire, FTL, and Enter the Gungeon. And look, I'm not totally sure if I would agree that all the games that are considered roguelikes are actually roguelikes. Because I mean, look at this. Into the Breach is awesome and I love it, but it looks nothing like Rogue and plays nothing like it. That being said, it definitely has some aspects that we would consider roguelike factors. Okay, wait. The article also says that The Binding of Isaac is a roguelike, not a roguelite. There's no way. Okay, let's compare The Binding of Isaac with the Berlin Interpretation. The Binding of Isaac is definitely randomly generated with new levels for every stage of the game you're in. 1 point. You can most certainly die in the game. While there are some power-ups that let you have a second chance, once you die, you cannot go back to that character. 1 point. The Binding of Isaac is not turn-based. It uses live combat with both your enemies and your character constantly moving and taking action simultaneously. No points. There's nothing stopping you from doing every action possible, combat or otherwise. You can use any action you choose. 1 point. Progression does not have to be linear. It is up to the player to choose whether they decide to go explore the stage or fight the boss as soon as they find the door. 1 point. There are definitely some aspects of the game you have to figure out on your own, whether it be what certain items do or where to find secret rooms. There are aspects of which you need to figure out on your own. So far, 5 out of 6, not too bad. This one's weird. The Binding of Isaac used to be a single player game, but got updated to include multiplayer availability. Oh, the game has plenty of content. So much so I'm having to look at the wiki every 5 seconds. 1 point. This one's a little bit stupid because I don't know how anything works in this game. So yeah, 1 point. 7.5 out of 9. Still not bad. Yeah, I think the game is hard. I also suck, but it's hard. 1 point. I think the monsters are close enough to the character that I would classify this one as fulfilled. 1 point. Obviously, this one is not fulfilled. The graphic display has come a long way since ASCII we once had 40 years ago. No points. And then finally, The Binding of Isaac does fulfill the role of a hack and slash as per the Berlin interpretation. 1 point. With the final score of 10.5 out of 13, The Binding of Isaac would have gotten a B- in the United States, which is honestly not a bad grade. So wait, if Caitlin is correct, what score does Enter the Gungeon get? It's the same fucking score! The same one! I don't know what to say. Enter the Gungeon is procedurally generated. It has permadeath. It's not turn-based. There's nothing you can't do at any point in the game. It's freeform. There's so much to discover. It's a single-player game with multiplayer availability. It's like the same game. There are so many items. You can use items in ways that are not obvious. The game is fucking hard. Monsters in the Gungeon are practically you. And then, yeah, it's a hack and slash in the way that's described by the Berlin interpretation. It's the same score! See, the issue of having a confined set of rules is that it makes it so easy to disqualify any game from a genre, even if it clearly shares the influence. The issue is that it's been 40 years since the genre came to exist, and the games that have made up this genre have totally changed from what it was 40 years ago. There's a lot more of a difference between Gungeon and Rogue than Gungeon and Isaac. It's a little confusing having Isaac in the same category of Rogue when Gungeon is in the same category as like Hades. It just doesn't work. And while I think there are some defining characteristics of the genre, such as maybe like permadeath and procedurally generated levels, I also think that whether we determine a game's roguelikeness should be done on a per-feeling basis. The genre has become so nuanced that making a set of rules for what makes a roguelike would take away from what the genre is about. To many, the genre has completely lost its meaning from its origin, and now it's about what fits the vibe of the roguelike, which is totally fine. The word has gained a new definition, and it has completely changed from the last 40 years. 40 years from now, it'll look completely different once again. And it is going to happen. But trying to exclude a game from a genre it totally follows is foolish. The Binding of Isaac and Enter the Gungeon are both roguelikes. Not because they play like Rogue or look like Rogue, I mean, look at this, but because that is what the word has evolved to. Hell, even Into the Breach can be a roguelike if we so determine it to be. The inspiration is definitely there, permadeath and procedurally generated levels, blah blah blah, but it's what the people decide, not just some set of rules that don't work anymore. Regardless of how we see these games is up to us. Debate all you want about whether Hades is a roguelike or not. Roguelite is a fine definition, I guess. I just don't see much of a difference between some of these games. Good night, Internet.